As a Jira administrator, we're responsible for managing fairly complex systems. And whether it's hundreds, if not thousands of different configurations, it's our job to stay on top of everything that's going on within our Jira system. Now, this can be a very overwhelming task, especially if you're new to the job or to a role as a Jira admin. Fortunately for you though, my good friends over at Revyz not only create one of the best backup solutions out there, but their app does so much more. And in this video, we're gonna be focusing in on their site insights, and I'm gonna give you a couple of helpful tips on how you can leverage this insight information to help you make better and more strategic decisions with respect to your Jira instances. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. Drop a like if you get value out of this video, and don't forget to check out the links down below, as you definitely want to start your free 30-day trial to the Revyz Data Manager for Jira. Let's jump in. All right, so here I am inside of Jira, and I've already navigated to the Revyz Data Manager for Jira, and you can just do that by clicking on Apps, going down to Revyz Data Manager, clicking on Home. So once we're here, we're going to be focusing in on Site Insights. And what exactly is this all about? Well, that's what this video is going to walk you through. So why use Insights? Well, the first thing is that this is going to tell you everything that's going on in your site. And it doesn't do it in a let's go figure out where everything is at inside of Jira, but it's going to put this all in a very nice, very user-friendly interface that is going to let your curiosity take you to new places. And as you can see here, we have an overview, or really they call it a summary page. And in the summary page, we're going to be able to see all the total number of projects that we have. Spoilers, we can click on all these. You're going to be able to see all the issues that are in your instance. We'll be able to look at our configurations, right? So this gives you a good summary view of how many issue types do we have? How many fields do we have? How many screens do we have, right? And so this is going to give you a good appreciation for exactly what is inside of your specific Jira, right? And if you're using JSM, you will also then be able to see very similar information for all your asset information. Now that's just a summary view. What happens next is probably my favorite feature. We're going to be taking a look at this configuration dependencies. Now, before we get too far with that, let me tell you a couple of other things that I'm excited about for this app, right? This app, right, especially as we start going into configuration dependencies, when a Jira admin, and this is even more true, right? This gets exponentially more true as you have more and more Jira admins, but when you make changes in Jira to your configurations, you add a new field or you add a new status, or worse yet, you rename a status, it's difficult, especially when you're new, right? Especially when you don't have all that experience, it's difficult to gauge the amount of impact that your changes will have, right? And again, unless you have that experience, unless you have the scars, the battle scars of being bit in the butt from making these mistakes, it's hard to appreciate, hey, all I'm doing is adding a custom field. What does that impact? Or maybe you're deleting a custom field. What's the impact of that, right? And again, unless you go and you do it and you learn by trial and fire, it's difficult for you to really appreciate the gravity of the situation. But with this app, especially as we're going to jump into this configuration dependencies here, we can get such a better bird's eye view and, most importantly, appreciation for what that level of impact is based on those changes that we're going to be making. So let's go take a look at a field, right? So let's look at these fields here, and let's just say that I want to delete, right? Let's just say that I want to delete my acceptance criteria. Well, what does that mean, right? Because it's not as simple as like, hey, I'm just going to delete a field. Cool, right? But those fields, they become intertwined, right? They're like part of Jira's DNA once you create a field, and once your team starts using those fields, right? They're embedded in screens and everything else, but it's hard to track. It's hard to visualize what is the cost, right? What will happen if I delete something? With this configuration dependency view, I can say, hey, I'm going to delete this field here. Let's view those dependencies, right? What is using this field? And so here we're going to see that it's in screens, 4 of them to be exact, and we're going to be able to see the 4 screens that are going to be impacted, right? Maybe we go the other way. Maybe we want to delete a screen, so I can come back to my dependencies here, click back, and let's just say I wanted to get rid of an issue type, right? Let's just say I want to get rid of Apple, and I can click on the view dependencies, and I can see all the issue type schemes that are relying on that issue type. So it's not just a matter of like, hey, let's just delete stuff. We can now appreciate and go, wait, hold up. There's something more to this, right? projects are actually using this issue type. There's issues against this issue type. And so it's not just a matter of like, let's just delete things because we can or we want to, right? Let's go look at statuses. I think this is one of the more important ones where oftentimes we want to delete a status. Like maybe we don't want the status of authorized, right? Maybe that was accidentally created. Well, we can go and take a look at how many boards are using it, how many workflows are using this, right? And this is especially true if maybe you're coming in a little later in the game and you're just like, whoa, what is going on with this Jira? Let's start cleaning stuff up, right? Well, you just can't go into like Bob the Builder construction mode and start cleaning things up, because when you do that, you can start breaking things and you're going to break things real quick. Luckily, Revyz also does backups. So if you do start breaking things, make sure you take a backup, because Revyz was going to let you do a little CYA. Is that going to let you go back in time in case you do break something pretty extravagant? But nonetheless, if you start deleting things, right, it's going to give you an appreciation for like, whoa, this is how these things are being used. Now, the other thing, right, is as we look at this overview, right, one other thing that I want to show you is these configurations are changing, right? They're going to be changing here. We have the summary view, right, that kind of gives us an appreciation for what these changes are. But what's really cool is, again, we're not always the only admin at our jobs, right? So sometimes we have multiple admins. So you can go back in time and you can go, as Revyz is doing these nightly backups, you can go and say, hey, did anything change recently, right? Because it's someone else doing migrations, it's someone else making changes to the system and maybe just not communicating, right? And so this is a really great way to go, wait a minute, these numbers, I'm expecting them to be the same. They're not quite the same, right? And so this insight is giving you a lot of metadata to not only get more familiar with your system, right, but also finding out, are other people making maybe unauthorized changes to your system, right? Are changes just not being communicated? Because of the backups, it's also giving you that peace of mind that if something does go wrong or something was done in an unauthorized way, you can always go back, right? Revyz can definitely go back in time. You can do a clone and restore, or you can just continuously make backups just in case you have a rainy day down the future. But most importantly, and my favorite feature, as I mentioned, right, is the ability to have the appreciation of when I start deleting things or when I start making changes to things, what is that impact look like, right? Because we don't always have that appreciation, especially as new admins. We don't always have a good appreciation for, hey, I'm about to delete something, or I'm about to rename something, right? And what does that mean? Like, is there an impact? Maybe, maybe not. Well, it all depends on the change, obviously, right? But this view of this dependency manager here, this is going to give you a, hey, if we rename this, this and this and this is going to be impacted, or this and this are tied together. So really, really great view. And then the last couple of things just to close out this video is we have issues history here, where you can look at all of the histories of your issues based on your specific criteria here. And then we have an attachments view as well, where you can look at all those attachments over time. So lots of interesting ways to see data. I think we are usually, as admins, so caught up in the configuration, the day-to-day of Jira, but we don't always take a second to kind of look at our little kingdom here and really appreciate, what do we have, right? And I think it's so important to have that information. I think it's so important to really understand how complex or not complex your Jira really is, because those little changes that you may think might be just very trivial might not be trivial and might come back and bite you in the butt. But at the very least, again, Resolution does a backup, right? And it's going to save your butt. So if you are making changes and you're like, oh, I know I've gotten in trouble before because I changed something, I deleted something, I didn't know, I didn't have the insights to be able to see how these things were intertwined. Well, at least now you have the insights, and most importantly, you have that backup solution in place. So definitely use the link down below. Go start a free 30-day trial to Data Manager for Jira from Revyz, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you drop this video a like, and I'll see you in the next one.